Back with us now, Congresswoman Nancy Mace and Tomas Philipson, former acting chair of the White House Council of Economic Advisors. First, let's watch a reporter getting pushed out of a meeting with the president yesterday after asking about Russia and oil. Watch this.
Thank you. Let's go. Hey guys, let's go. Thank you. Let's go. Out the door. Come on, turn around. Out the door.
Thank you.
Guys, out the door. Let's go. Thank you.
Congressman Mace, why is the White House all over the map on a Russia oil embargo?
It's hard to say, and I will tell you, just yesterday afternoon, right before I was boarding my flight home to Charleston, South Carolina, I learned that Nancy Pelosi had a hearing and oversight canceled next week that was scheduled with the oil and gas industry. I don't think this administration or Democrats right now want to answer questions about oil and gas when Russia is invading Ukraine, because this is precisely the method how Putin funds his war machine, is through his oil and gas economy, and we're funding it by the tune of 600,000 barrels a day of oil that we import from Russia every single day. That oil is stained with Ukrainian blood.
Tomas Philipson, it's about 8 to 10% of supply, all right? But, you know, Thomas, I want your reaction to this. We've got chaotic White House messaging. It shows how the far left has captured the White House in a time of war. Let's set it up. They're talking process when the world says, yes, Russia is committing war crimes. The White House press secretary says no strategic interest in cutting off Russia's oil imports as Russia bombs Ukraine. Buttigieg baffling voters with a mystifying answer on gas prices going up. Watch this.
President Zelensky has said Russia's actions clearly constitute a war crime. UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson also said that Russia's targeting of civilians fully qualifies as a war crime. The president wouldn't go that far when he was asked yesterday. Why has he been reluctant to label Russia's actions a war crime?
Well, there's a process, and we have stood up a process internally, an internal team to assess and look at and evaluate evidence of what we're seeing happen on the ground. You've heard me say this a few times before, but we don't have a strategic interest in reducing the global supply of energy. And that would raise prices at the gas pump for the American people. The Keystone Pipeline has never been operational. It would take years for that to have any impact.
So during those years where it would take to bring down prices, as you're saying, we should just continue to buy Russian oil?
Well, again, Jackie, I think you're familiar with a number of steps we've taken, a historic release from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Well, let me finish.
Look, the president has said that all options are on the table, but we also need to make sure that we're not galloping after permanent solutions to immediate short-term problems.
That's Buttigieg talking about buying Iran oil and talking about the Keystone, putting back in the Keystone Pipeline. It's a word salad. Thomas, your reaction?
Yeah, I mean, the big picture here is that the White House green agenda is not only financing a war and making costly energy for our citizens, it's also on top of it raising global warming, which is kind of the exact opposite of what their agenda tries to do. So basically, the only reason global warming is a policy issue is because green energy is more costly than fossil fuels. Otherwise, the market would eliminate fossil fuels very quickly. So we've been sold a trade-off, basically. Engage in more costly energy today to lower temperatures in the future. But what their policy is doing by having a war on U.S. fossil fuels, which is the cleanest fossil fuels in the world, they're substituting U.S. fossil fuels with dirtier fossil fuels in Russia and other countries. So the bottom line is essentially that the U.S. customers pay more for energy through these policies and also polluting more at the same time.
Yeah, Congressman, now we've got this. Democrat Senators Menendez, Warner, Jeannie Shaheen joining Senator Manchin, saying yes to a Russian oil embargo. The White House Chief of Staff Ron Klain says in a podcast, well, we don't want to do that because it would threaten the unity of the allies going against Russia, including Canada. Canada's doing a ban on Russian oil, so what's he talking about?
Yeah, precisely. And I will tell you, I was on the Hill this week and in multiple briefings about the Russian invasion of Ukraine. And I will tell you, Democrats are, the ones that I've spoken to, are equally frustrated with the administration as Republicans are right now. Multiple people that I've spoken to on the other side of the aisle would like to see us ban imports of Russian oil. And I got to tell you, what Thomas said was just right. We have cleaner fossil fuels. And in fact, the state of New York alone has enough natural resources to fuel all of Europe for the next 150 years until we're all on electric cars There's time here to get this done and not pay for Putin's wars or the war crimes that he is committing that are clear as day, that we see every single day as they unfold on social media in real time.
You know, so given what the congressman said, why the delay? I mean, you remember when Joe Biden's Energy Secretary Jennifer Granholm laughed when asked what she would do about gas prices? That was when gas was at $2.89. What do you think, Thomas? Final word.
Yeah, I think this is kind of similar. Democrats are very similar, it turns out, with COVID policy and energy policy. The costly Green New Deal is sort of a costly way to prevent a rise in temperature, just as costly lockdowns were two costly ways to prevent a rise in disease. It's very, very similar. Instead, what should be the focus, the single-minded focus in the long term of the U.S. should be to have green energy innovation that brings down green energy costs below fossil fuels. It's sort of like we need an Operation Warp Speed for green energy that we did with the COVID when medical innovation saved us.
Got it. Congresswoman Mace and Tomas Philipson, thanks for joining us.